Well, I know investors don't like trade tensions. They don't like uncertainty. But I think Steve made a good point. You know, we don't necessarily have to view this as being a net negative. I mean, I think on the one hand, it's a real attempt to sort of fix some of the imbalances that have been taking decades to take place. And second, I think the economy is quite strong. So we would use any of these pullbacks to buy and add to exposure.
So you're buying?
Yes.
This is not worrying you at all? Because you think that actually in the end nothing happens and this is all noise, or because you think actually the outcome is going to be much better in terms of the actual negotiation will improve for the United States?
Well, I think it's a little both. I mean, on the one hand, I'd say that let's say that there is a probability, material probability that there could be some effects, right? Some effects on GDP. The second is, I think it's actually positive for us to try to fix some of these trade imbalances. So, I think on balance, it's a net positive.
Net positive? What about you?
So we've got a somewhat more tactical position here. The equity market, as you know, Andrew, has had a terrific run here over the last 4 months, up about 11 or 12%. We actually took about 3% out of our equity overweight at the end of the second quarter, and we're actually bracing for about a 5 to 8% correction over the third quarter, in part because of the instability over trade and tariffs.
Just in the last week or so, you did that?
Well, we did at the end of the second quarter, sort of the end of June. So we didn't get that quite right in July, but August and September are different months. We're right with Tom in terms of the fact that we think that, when we take the longer-term view, a lot of what we're seeing is merely a negotiating tactic, but it's ugly. We don't know if it's going to work. We don't know what the near-term dislocations are, and we felt that we could see some choppiness over the course of the third quarter.
Steve?
Tom, I think I very much disagree with your point of view on this. I'll tell you why. I think there's a broad effort to fix a system that is not broken. I think what's happened is there are parts that are unfair in our trade agreements with China. There are parts that are unfair in our trade agreement with Europe, Mexico, and Canada. Those are by far the smaller part of the entire trade relationship.
But Steve, whether it's broken or not depends on where you sit. If you're one of the ones who's in one of the unfair situations, then you think it's very broken.
If you are,
I understand from the 30,000.
If you're one of those people, the government and other programs should have dealt with that, while the broader benefits of tariffs were able to take effect. So what we have now is a focus on steel and aluminum to the detriment of the much broader steel and aluminum. We have a massive trade relationship with China in which we import cheap stuff, put value added on it, and make more money from that. The idea that the world trade system is broken, I think, is a fiction created by the president.